Wow. Wow. That was pretty fun. Test. There it is. Okay, I'm going to move away from that mic because we're going to need that in a minute. But, announcements. Don't forget this week, we got a lot of activities going on. You know where to find them? On the website, correct. And actually, the website's working real good. Robert's doing a bang-up job putting that together. Anyway, on Tuesday is Ladies Walk and Talk. Looks like that's on. No? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's, like I said, like baseball, right? They play when the weather's good. Also, Wednesday at 5:30 we have prayer group, and then at 7 we have the watch party. And once again, there's a little bit of weather conditions there that prevail, but the plan is to be there. And then on Thursday is women's study at 6. So, and that's in the evening, so it should be cool enough for that to work. Other announcements, don't forget the diaper drive, right? We still are doing diapers out there. Oh, there it is. Look at that. My mom would be proud of me. It's like I had eyes in the back of my head. It did take a while to figure that out as a kid, that the rear view mirror, she could actually see us fighting in the back seat. Once I figured that out, I'd get him over in the corner and... Anyway, other announcements. Oh,
He is risen.
He is risen. Thank you. He is risen indeed. Another, and this is, typically we don't get political here, but in case you haven't heard, there was an attempt on Donald Trump yesterday. And I guess he got hit in the ear when Jim was praying get pricked in our ears. I was like, wow. Well, it just struck me as unique. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, I do have a scripture to share, right? Because, some of you be like, well, they hit my guy, and then some of you be like, well, that wasn't my guy. And so, what's our take? How do we process that, right? Because we are Christians in this world, right? And, we're in this country, and this country gives us the freedom to come here and do what we do here, right? And I think we're all okay with that part. Well, check this out. 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 and 2. I'm just going to read it and just see if you think this might apply, all right? It says, first of all, then I urge you that supplication, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for the kings who are in high positions, that we may lead peaceful and quiet lives, godly and dignified in every way. Okay, and that's what I would encourage, us as Christians to do is, we need to pray for our leaders, right? The benefit is, they rule over us, and in so doing, then it helps us that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, right? I'm all for that. And godly and dignified in every way. So when you're talking about things, if you can do it godly and dignified, more power to you. Okay? That's my take. Yeah. Makes you obedient. We might not have as much time as we thought we were going to have with our study today, but that's okay. We've got something to look forward to, and that is the potluck and eternity. So, if you recall, last week we left off in Romans chapter 3, and we're just going to highlight a little bit of what we talked about last time, and that was, I finished up last week with discussion about someone I'd seen on social media that was deconstructing their faith. Right? Do you remember that? Yeah, there's a few nods. Perfect. And so, and what this particular gal that I was watching was saying was that she was deconstructing her faith, basically meaning she was stepping away from Christianity because of John 3:16. And in John 3:16, it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And her take was that it didn't make sense for God to come up with a system that required him to sacrifice himself, right? If God was sharper, he'd have come up with an easier way in which he didn't have to sacrifice himself. That's not my take, that's her take. And where I think the problem lies is that this gal, this lady, didn't understand the nature and character of God. And that's what we're going to look at today, pretty quickly. But in 1 John 3, verses 1 and 2, I'm going to read this. And hopefully it'll shed a little light on the point I'm trying to make. And so it starts out, 1 John 3, verse 1, it says, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Behold, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is." And so what this passage is saying, the nugget I want to kind of pick out of here, is that the reason the world does not know us is because it did not know him. Okay? And so this gal that's deconstructing her faith because God should have came up with a better way of salvation, she doesn't know God. She doesn't understand God. And what I want to do is I've got a list of the characters of God. And next week, as we pick up in Romans where we left off, we're going to see how God's character is made whole and complete in that next section of Romans, but we'll see where this gal kind of missed the mark and how we can have security in our salvation. So, first character, and a lot of these you know, but let's list them out. The first one is God is omnipotent, right? He's all-powerful, capable of creating and sustaining the universe, right? Omnipotent. Second, he's omniscient. That is, all-knowing, possessing complete knowledge of the past, present, and future. Okay? He's omnipresent, and that means God is present everywhere simultaneously. So far, so good? And, right, those, yeah, okay, I got that. Next one is eternity. God exists outside of time, being eternal with no beginning and end. Next one, and this is where I think a lot of us, and I think this is where the gal came a little short understanding God's nature, and that is holiness. It says God is morally perfect and utterly separate from sin and evil. And that's the one we're going to really look at next week. Next is justice. God is fair and impartial, administering judgment according to his righteousness. Right? So there's judgment. God is love. God's love is sacrificial, unconditional, and extends to all people. Next is mercy and grace. God is compassionate and offers forgiveness and an undeserved favor to humanity. Next is sovereignty. God rules over all creation and history, working out his purposes according to his will. And finally, faithfulness. God is steadfast and keeps his promises without fail. And so this is the character and nature of God. So these are all attributes of God. And once we understand who God is, we can see and we're going to understand why he had to come and sacrifice and offer himself as an offering for our sin. So that's what we're going to look at next week. So as I alluded to last week, read ahead. We are in Romans 3, and we're going to be starting at verse 21. Okay, so next week we'll take off at Romans 3, verse 21, and we're going to, as I talked about last week, there's going to be a fancy theological word we're going to kind of flesh out a little bit, and really look forward to it. So, as we close up here, I think Jim, wherever he's at, if the guys could start passing out the communion elements, Jim's going to come up and do our communion devotional. Yeah, they're working on it. So while they're doing that, No, he's coming. Come on up, Jim. Did you find anybody out there to pass out? Okay.